Caylee Anthony is by far probably the worst mothers in America. We all hate her and we know what she did and we're done sugarcoating it, so let's talk about it. It's your girl Treasurelove here and I am back with another video.
Baby, you don't know what you do to me. Between me and you, I feel like you're in a million. It goes on and on.
In today's video, we will be talking about Caylee Anthony, who was found not guilty for the death of her daughter, Caylee Anthony, which is just, we can talk about this forever. Today, we're going to talk about it while we paint this beautiful portrait. I can't tell. See? Alright, you guys, so I have everything set up. I have my pizza, my drink, which this is vodka and orange juice. Not orange juice, but like orange juice. Like a sugar-free Sun-Kiss is basically what it is. And then I have all my paints here. I don't really know exactly what I'm doing for homegirl, but we're gonna hook her up. Have my water, my plates. I got 2 plates because I have a feeling I'm gonna be doing a lot of color changes, but we shall see. Before we get into today's video, make sure you guys follow me on all my social medias. Like this video if you guys want more videos like this, please let me know. If you guys have cases you guys want me to cover, let me know. Yeah, share this video, show love everywhere, do what you're supposed to do. We already know what you're supposed to do. And let's dive into this video. Okay. Caylee Anthony was born in 1986 in Ohio. She was born to both George and Cindy Anthony. Sydney was actually a nurse and George actually spent a lot of time in law enforcement. George and Sydney actually did have another kid. His name was Lee. That's obviously Casey's brother. He's actually only 4 years older than Caylee, if you guys were wondering. As a child, Caylee was known to be very sassy, very like smart as far as like her tone, like she'd always talk back. And once she became a teenager, that's when things got worse. They would say that she started skipping classes, her grades weren't really well at all, and she just completely went to school to like try to be cool, try to be down. She did not go there to fucking learn a thing, which she probably could have benefited from. She began lying at a very young age as well, so the whole lying thing is not really out of character. Let's fast forward to August, where Caylee Anthony was born. Born August 9th, 2005. Sydney did say that Caylee was actually excited to have a baby. Like at first she wanted an abortion. Can I say that on YouTube? I hope so. First she wanted that. But then, you know, eventually she decided to keep the baby. You know, when it comes to Caylee, she actually didn't even tell her parents that she was pregnant until about 7 months pregnant, which she's pretty small, so she probably couldn't hide it anymore. So at 7 months she decided to tell her parents. George and Sydney both say that they was actually excited because they're going to be grandparents. Like for grandparents, it's an exciting thing when your kid becomes pregnant because, you know, you're looking forward to becoming a grandparent. Caylee still lived at home, which means that Caylee will also be living at home because Caylee had no plans on leaving the house, the family house, anytime soon. So Caylee didn't actually know who the father was. She said it was her boyfriend at the time. I believe his name was Jesse. I forget his name, but she said it was her boyfriend, which come to find out he wasn't the father. Then she said it was this other dude that ended up dying a couple months beforehand. I don't know, but he wasn't alive, so there was no way to do a DNA test to find out who was actually the father of Caylee Anthony. Fast forward to June 15, 2008, where it is said that Caylee and her parents got into a heated argument, and Caylee ended up leaving the house, and Caylee ended up taking Caylee with her. When she stormed out, she packed a bag, grabbed Caylee, went into the car, and left. And this day would actually be the last day that Sydney and George saw Caylee alive. Saw Caylee, period. So Caylee actually went to her boyfriend's house afterwards, but what was weird was that Caylee was not with her when she went to her boyfriend's house. Apparently, she told her boyfriend that she dropped Kaylee off with her nanny, Zanny the nanny. The full name is Zenaida Hernandez Gonzalez, but the nickname is Zanny the nanny. Days go by and Sydney finally get in touch with Casey, and she's like, hey, little, just checking in, whatever, where's Kaylee? I want to speak to Kaylee, like, I miss my granddaughter. And every single time Casey would say, oh no, she's with the babysitter. And they're like, what babysitter? Because obviously they live with Sydney and George, so anytime that Casey needed to go do something, she wanted to go out with her friends, wanted to go party, she would just leave Kaylee with Sydney and George. So there was never a babysitter ever. So now there's this mystery babysitter. She claims that she found this babysitter through a coworker. This is what she later told the police. We'll find out later that she doesn't even have a job to have a coworker. And this coworker introduced her to Zanny the nanny, and this coworker is also paying for the daycare for Kaylee. What coworker, you know, is just paying daycare for their other coworker? Like, daycare is very expensive, and the last thing someone is going to do is pay for someone else's daycare. Like, no, that's just not realistic. That's crazy. Here's where it gets juicy. The car that Kaylee was driving was actually impounded. Okay, it was towed to an impound, and the impound company called George like, hey, we have your car here. It was sitting in a parking lot. There is this foul smell coming from it, but you have to come pick up your car. Like, what are you doing? Like, we have your car. So George is like, what? Like, Kaylee's been driving this car. Kaylee apparently has been driving back and forth to work at Universal Studios with this car, you know, driving Kaylee to her nanny's house, you know, getting around, going to the store, back and forth to parties, back and forth to her boyfriend's house. So how is the car impounded? Like, I'm confused, you know? So George gets to the car. George also smells this really foul smell. And, you know, like I said earlier, George has been in law enforcement, so he knows the smell of a dead body. He knows the smell of decomposition. It's literally what he's trained to do. And he smells that, and he is like, what the hell is that? There was a bag of trash in the car, so when he actually brought the car home, Sydney also smelled the car and was like, whoa, it is a very foul smell. There was trash in the car, but Sydney said that she just threw it out without looking inside the trash, which that probably could have answered so many questions. It could have been receipts in there, maybe like the last time Casey bought anything, it would have showed how long it's been sitting. You know, just anything in that trash could have explained so much, you know, but unfortunately it was just tossed without being looked into, which in any natural case that may be what happened. So no one was knowing that Kaylee was missing at that time. He decides to go to Casey's boyfriend's house, DJ. Well, he is a DJ. His name is Tony. I don't know why I call him DJ. Kaylee gets in there, embarrasses her daughter. Like, you need to come with me. The car has been impounded. You don't have Kaylee. Where's Kaylee? We need to find Kaylee. And basically embarrasses her. So she goes with her mom back home. And that's when she's flipping out on Casey, like, what the fuck is going on? Where's my granddaughter? Who the fuck is Zanny the nanny? Why the hell are you making up names? Like, yo, I swear, Sydney, man, listen. He called the police in regards to the car. I called the police 3 different times, and
I have someone here that I need to be arrested in my home.
They're there right now?
I have a possible missing child. I have a 3-year-old that's been missing for a month.
A 3-year-old?
Yes.
Have you reported that?
I'm trying to do that now, ma'am.
Okay, what did the person do that you need arrested?
My daughter.
For what?
For stealing an auto and stealing money. I already spoke with someone. They said they would patch me through the Orlando Sheriff's Department and have a deputy here. I was in the car. I was going to drive her to the police station, and no one's open. They said they would bring a deputy to my home when I got home to call them.
So she stole your vehicle?
Yes.
I found out my granddaughter has been taken. She has been missing for a month. We're talking about a 3-year-old little girl. My daughter finally admitted that the baby's in the store. I need to find her.
Your daughter admitted that the baby is where?
But the babysitter took her a month ago. My daughter's been looking for her. I told you my daughter was missing for a month. I just found her today, but I can't find my granddaughter. And she just admitted to me that she's been trying to find her herself. There's something wrong. I found my daughter's car today, and it smells like there's been a dead body in the damn car.
Okay, what is the 3-year-old's name?
Caylee, Caylee, Anthony.
Caylee Anthony?
Yes.
How long has she been missing for?
I have not seen her since the 7th of June.
Is your daughter there?
Yes.
Can I speak with her?
She's down Sheriff's Department. They want to talk to you. Answer the question. Hello?
Hello?
Yes.
Can you tell me what's going on a little bit?
I'm sorry?
Can you tell me a little bit what's going on?
My daughter's been missing for the last 31 days.
And you know who has her?
I know who has her. I've tried to contact her. I actually received a phone call today now from a number that is no longer in service. I did get to speak to my daughter for about a minute.
2005 is her date of birth?
Yes.
And you last saw her a month ago?
31 days. It's been 31 days.
Who has her? Do you have a name?
Her name is Zenaida Fernandez Gonzalez.
Who is that? Babysitter?
She's been my nanny for about a year and a half, almost 2 years.
Why are you calling now? Why didn't you call 31 days ago?
I've been looking for her and have gone through other resources to try to find her, which was...
As you guys can see, Sydney is panicking. She's freaking out, as one would if they find out that their granddaughter has been missing for 30 days. No contact with your granddaughter for 30 days. So she hears Casey tell Lee, which is her older brother, that she has not actually seen Kaylee in the past 30 days. What do you mean Zanny did not give Kaylee back to you? What do you mean? Like, what does that even mean? You guys can also hear on the audio, Casey does not give a flying buckety as to what's going on. She seems very bothered by the 911 operator. She's like, well, I'm doing it now. Like, first of all, no, you're not doing it now. You still have not reported your daughter missing. Your mother did, not you. Like, that's one thing that people always get twisted. Like, oh, it took you 30 days to report your daughter missing. She never reported her daughter missing. Her mother did. And if her mother never made that call, none of this would have happened. So Casey still did absolutely nothing as a mother. Still. So fast forward to when she's starting to like speak with investigators and things like that. She tells investigators that Kaylee is with, she knows. Wait, let's backtrack before we talk about investigator. Did you guys also hear that she said, oh, I just spoke with Kaylee earlier today? You just spoke with Kaylee earlier today, but I thought you, like, why can't, lies. It's the lies. Like, no one's even, oh my god. She just spoke with Kaylee earlier today. But the number that she was able to get in touch with them on is no longer in service. Just lying through your teeth. You can't even keep up. You cannot even keep up. I think that's the saddest part. It's the fact that you can't even keep up. Like, girl, what? What are you saying? Okay, so now let's fast forward to like the investigation part. So Casey actually tells investigators that, you know, about Zanny the nanny. She says that she works at Universal Studios, so when she's at work or whenever she's hanging out with her boyfriend, she drops off her daughter at Zanny the nanny. Now, sometimes Kaylee is with Casey when she hangs out with her boyfriend, but obviously the past 30 days she has been with the Zanny the nanny. So investigators are like, okay, cool, I understand. Take me to Zanny the nanny's house. We're going to get your kid back. We are saying you know where your kid is at, and you just spoke with him earlier today. You know that your kid is alive. Cool, let's go get her. That's what they said. So they took Casey's word. Casey took them to the apartment building where she claimed that Zanny the nanny lives, and this is where she had dropped off Kaylee in the past. So she was very confident. They get there, they go up to the second floor, and they're like, okay, you know, where's this apartment? She gets to the apartment and it's literally vacant. No one has lived there in months. No one has lived there in months. Literally months. And the security footage show no one that looks like Zanny the nanny there ever. So yeah, and especially earlier that day or around the time frame that she said that she dropped off Kaylee. So yeah, lie number 1. Cool. Moving on to lie number 2. She takes them over to Universal Studios to show like where she worked. Da, 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 da. She's walking through Universal Studio hallways, and there's literally a video of it. But she's walking around in the hallways saying hi to people. Hey, good morning. How are you guys? You know, is there food in the break room? Like, really? And she walks through this hallway and she stops. She turns around. She giggles and she said, you know what? I don't work here. What? Like, the look on their face was like, what the fuck is going on? You know? So they immediately took her into a room, press the recorder, and start asking her questions, start grilling her, because at this point they're like, she's lying, we know she's lying, we know that she's lying, and we need the truth. They basically were saying, like, you know, if you want us to help you find your daughter, why are you lying to us? Like, explain why you're lying. I guess that's like the main portion. Explain why why are you lying? And obviously she couldn't do that because she ain't shit, you know. Quick update on the portrait. So far I got the blue and yellow down, and I got her dress. Her dress is purple. It's actually so cute. Hold on. Pizza break. You know, everyone knows kind of like no one's buying her shit at all. And Casey is about to go down. She's had her fun. It's time for her to go down. So, they actually charge, because of this, they actually charge Casey with, I guess I don't know the proper charges, but basically, you lied to us, we're charging you because that's a criminal offense, you know? So, she was actually thrown in jail because of that, like lying to the police. By this point, the entire world knew about Caylee Anthony. Her face was everywhere. Everyone knew that we were looking for Kaylee. Kaylee's missing. They know like this young, precious 2-year-old girl is missing and has been missing for 30 days, and the mother never reported her missing. So obviously in the court of public opinion, like, you did it. I mean, and that's actually a fact. Like, she did it. Like, we know that. But I'm saying, like, at the time before the trial and everything, it was just the court of public opinion. And everyone hated Casey. I mean, as they should. They should not love her, support her at all. By July 22nd of 2008, Casey has officially become a person of interest. When she was put in jail, her bond was actually set to $500,000, y'all. And it was set that high because who the fuck is paying $500,000 for a bond? Like, who got it like that? Definitely not the Anthonys. They did not have it like that. That's not something they were going to do. Of course, here comes a Cali man, a bounty hunter from California. His name was Leonard Padilla. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. But he decided to pay the $500,000 bond because he felt like, you know, if we let Casey out, maybe she would lead us to Kaylee. Maybe she will begin speaking, stop lying, start telling the truth, and lead us to Kaylee. Of course, Casey did everything but lead anybody to Kaylee. Yeah, so you just wasted $500,000. So talk about Casey a little bit more, because I kind of jumped past like what happened in those 30 days when Kaylee was missing. So Casey actually just partied a lot that entire time, and she happily pictures on her MySpace of her partying with her boyfriend and her new friends and all this other great stuff. She actually got a tattoo that says Bella Vita. Here's a picture of it. It means beautiful life. But Casey does not give a flying fuckity about Kaylee. It just doesn't. Now, moving forward, like, you know, once everything is found out, before the bond was paid, obviously, like, she's in jail. Sydney and George decided to come and visit Casey. They were just super, you could tell, you could hear it in their voice. They're just super distraught. They're super just emotional. They're telling Casey how much they are looking for Kaylee. They're telling Casey that, you know, she's going to be on People magazine. Like, the word is spread. The entire world knows about Kaylee. And Casey does not give a flying fuckity yo. She's like, okay, alright, yeah, I hear you. Like, I get it. Okay, cool. And then, just to foreshadow a little bit of what's going to go on during the trial, during this interview, Kaylee says to George, oh, it's not your fault. Like, you're the best father anyone can ever ask for. You're the best grandfather anyone can ever ask for. Like, completely praising George. Like, praising George. Which you wouldn't do if you knew what he did to your daughter. But we're not gonna jump there just yet. There's this phone call where she's like, yeah, put my brother on the phone. Like, she basically only wanted to speak with her boyfriend. And so Sydney asked her, Sydney was like, does Tony have anything to do with Kaylee's disappearance? And she's like, no. She was like, well, why do you want to speak to Tony? She's like, because that's my boyfriend. You're giving a fuck about your boyfriend right now? Your daughter is fucking missing. How about asking, like, hey, how many search parties did you guys have? How many flyers did you guys print? You know, how's that going? No, she's worried about fucking Tony. Tony the pony. Like, what the fuck? I just hate this girl. I really hate this bitch so much. Like, y'all have no idea. Fast forward, she gets out and she doesn't do anything, like, productive. She's not joining any search parties. She doesn't do anything. Like, if you guys don't already know, she done lawyered up. She hired Jose Baez, which, if you guys know anything about Jose Baez, he's a terrible person. Like, hello. Terrible person. Okay, my camera had died, so I have no idea where I left off. It's kind of stressing me out. Now, let's just jump to October 14th of 2008. Casey was officially charged with first-degree murder. Like I said, she already lured up. So Jose Baez came to the rescue. And yeah, she's officially charged, which everyone was so... people were in shock that kind of what they were already thinking kind of came true. Like, everyone, it kind of gave like everyone that confirmation that Casey did do this. Fast forward to December, and let's talk about what happened early December. So a worker that, like, he works on like stuff like National Grid and shit like that, right? He came across this bundle of bones in a trash bag, and he called the police, and they was like, yeah, we'll come out there, we'll take a look. They never came. Time goes by, he comes across it again, calls them again, and they still don't come out there. When actually they don't come out there at that time, they do end up going, but they're like, I don't see anything. Obviously, if you would have came out there when he was there, then he would have directed you as to where he saw the bones. Like, duh. Every time, he actually told his supervisor called and was like, we need someone here right now. We believe this is human bones. It's in a bag. Someone needs to come check this out. And finally, the cops did what the cops are supposed to do. You know, investigate, respond. And they came and they discovered the bones of Caylee Anthony. Now, this was on December 11th, 2008. Obviously, the confirmation that it was Caylee happened a little later, a couple weeks later, but they were able to successfully identify the bones of Caylee Anthony. Oh, so many things. Okay, the bones were wrapped in a Winnie the Pooh blanket inside a black garbage bag. The garbage bag had a heart-shaped sticker on the bag. And the skeleton, or the remains I should say, like the skeleton, the skull actually had duct tape wrapped around the mouth, which actually is the only thing that held the jaw together, because when you decompose, all this would just fall apart. But being that there was duct tape on it, you know, everything stuck together. Also, there were roots and grass and weeds growing inside the bones, like through the bones. So that just shows that the bones were there for a very long time. And with Florida's weather and heat, you know, the body most likely decomposed very quickly. It was said that the bones have been there around the time where Caylee initially went missing. That just shows that during those 30 days, Caylee was not alive. So the story that Casey actually spoke to Caylee earlier that day when her mom called the police is obviously an extreme, huge lie, because by that time, Caylee had already died. Let's also just remember when Caylee and Casey left the house that day where Casey stormed out, Caylee was with her, but She then went to her boyfriend's house and Kaylee was not with her. Before we begin talking about the trial, I do want to talk about an incident that did take place with George. January of 2009, George actually attempted suicide. He wrote a 5-page suicide letter. He took so many pills and drank so much alcohol. He locked himself in a hotel room and he wanted to just die. He wanted to overdose. He just could not live without Kaylee. And just the thought that, and like the confirmation that she was murdered, you know, that she is gone when, you know, once her remains were found, he just couldn't live with that. He just didn't understand it. He just couldn't deal with it, which is so completely understandable. I can't even imagine like what he's going through, because you also got to think like Kaylee lived with them. It's not like, you know, so every little thing in his house reminded him of Kaylee. And of course he doesn't have any answers. Now he had his own theory, which we'll get into at the end, but you know, in this moment he just felt like he could not live anymore. Now he did eat a sandwich earlier that day, and it is believed that is the only reason why he survived his attempted suicide, because he had something in his stomach. If he did not, he most likely would have passed away that day. Obviously Casey is charged with first-degree murder. It was very hard to find a jury because this case was so public and so talked about on the media for the past 8 months. Well, the past few years at this point, because the trial did actually take place a couple years later. I believe it was 2010 or 2011. So it was really hard to find jurors that did not already know about this case, because you know, you can't have any prior knowledge of the case or anything kind of like influencing your decision other than what is given to you in the courthouse. So, or in that courtroom, I should say. Let's get into a few pieces of evidence here. So we have the analysis of the hair that was found in the trunk. It is said that that hair does match Caylee Anthony, and it is said that at the end of her hair there is evidence that the hair was decomposing. So that just shows right then and there that Kaylee was dead in that trunk. They also found the evidence, or the air that was collected from the trunk. It did contain chemical components of decomposition, human decomposition. So that also proves that there was a human dying in the trunk. Winnie the Pooh blanket that Kaylee remains were found and did match the Winnie the Pooh set from her bedroom. The trash bag did match the trash bags in the Anthony's home. The sticker even matched what was found in the Anthony's home, as well as the duct tape. So we know for a fact that it was someone in that house that committed this crime. We also know that a few months prior, I believe it was around March of 2008, where chlorophyll was searched on the family's computer. Now, the only person at home at the time of these searches was Casey. Kaylee couldn't have done it. She's 2. Sydney was at work, and her clock, her timestamp does show that she was at work, as well as George. He was also at work, and his timestamps also confirmed that he was at work during that time. Also, a few seconds after closing out of that browser, she logged into Facebook, which the whole thing with the internet searches and the internet history, because Sydney was trying to claim that she was the one that did those searches, she said that, oh yeah, like I looked up chlorophyll because plants in her garden, whatever, and it prompted her to chloroform, which, no, like, who you lying to? So she was trying to cover up for Casey. We don't know why, but she definitely was trying to cover up. But the further details about the internet searches did not come out until after the trial. So I think that could have played a huge part into how, you know, the jury, you know, received their information. I also talked about the evidence of suffocation, because I mean, obviously there's no body to do an autopsy, but there was remains, and like I said, there was duct tape around the nose and mouth area that shows that she could have died from suffocation. Now when it comes to the defense wanted to go a route that they knew would play on people's heartstrings and cause reasonable doubt. Of course, they used the Great O abuse abuse excuse. You guys know how I feel about the abuse excuse. I'm usually a victim believer 9 times out of 10, but this one was just so cold-hearted and such a lie. I can't even believe they got away with this. And we talked about the abuse excuse when we talked about Eric Alao Menendez. George was obviously not aware that they were going to use this abuse excuse against him and blame everything on him. Now, he wasn't initially, him and Sydney initially was not allowed to be in the courtroom. The judge did say, like, you know, we'll let you be in the courtroom if you guys do not show any emotion during the entire trial, because that can influence the jury. Cool. He had to keep a straight face while in shock they blatantly just said, you know, I'll tell you who did it. George did it. George found Kaylee in the pool, drowned, because Kaylee could get outside by herself. Drowned. He carried her in, soaking wet, and he yelled at Casey, saying, oh, your mother's gonna hate you, and then began crying and throwing a fit, and, you know, going on this emotional roller coaster with Kaylee heavy, soaking wet, dead in his arms. Like, he was just sitting there like, what the fuck? And then the whole abuse excuse comes. And she's like, well, yeah, I was always taught to lie because my dad, he used to molest me. He used to come in my room at night and he used to touch me. And he always told me to lie. He taught me how to lie. And that's why I began lying. And it was just like, what? This became like the new headline. Like, oh my God, George Anthony allegedly molested Caylee Anthony. Oh my God. She said that George basically told her, like, hey, I'll take care of this, don't worry about it, and he knew all along that she was gone because he disposed of the body. Casey then said that she thought that she truly did think that Kaylee was alive that entire time, because George kept saying, oh, it's okay, everything's gonna be okay, everything's gonna be okay. So she did not know that Kaylee passed away that entire time. Like, girl, who are you lying to? So, and then he also got criticized for not showing emotion, but obviously he had to if he wanted to stay in the courtroom. George also testified, and he, you know, completely denied everything, of course. But yeah, I think that is so freaking disgusting. Casey ended up, you know, getting away with this. She was found not guilty by the jurors. Many jurors have spoken out and said that they completely regret finding her not guilty. Unfortunately, they did have to follow the law, and if there was reasonable doubt, then they could not find her guilty, and the abuse excuse did cause reasonable doubt. So she did get convicted, I mean, obviously, like, for lying for the police and stuff like that, but she was found not guilty for first-degree murder, which the entire world was shook. I remember this. Like, I remember watching Nancy Grace, and I was like, yo, she's going down. And I'm literally, like, 10 years old when this trial took place, and I'm, like, watching it. I'm like, yo, she's going down. There's just no way. And, yeah, homegirl was found not, actually, she's not our homegirl, what the fuck, she was found not guilty. Obviously became like the most hated mother in America, as she should have been, and she still is, like, one of the most terrible mothers ever. So Casey decided to do a documentary. Now, when she does this documentary, she does not give no fucks about anybody else besides herself, of course. Like, she always does. I mean, I don't really think that part is new. She actually goes into further detail about what happened to Kaylee. She said that her father, you know, she told the whole story that Kaylee did drown, and that her father told her that everything's going to be alright. And her father is the one who found her, and her father took care of her body. So my thing is, like, you know, if Kaylee did drown, what's the reason of putting duct tape over her face? If she's already dead, she's already drowned, what's the reason of putting duct tape over her face? What is the reason? There's no reason. There's literally no reason. That shit pisses me off every time, because how could you sit here and literally say, oh yeah, she drowned. Well, why the fuck was there duct tape over her face? Also, Sydney and George Anthony decided to take lie detector tests, which they both passed flying colors without a problem. They both talked more about like their marriage and their troubles that they've gone through. They talked about growing up with Casey and how she did in fact watch George lie, because George did have a gambling problem. But they clarified a few lies that Casey have told about George and their marriage. You guys can check that out. Get into George's theory. I know we talked about it a little bit, but he believes that Casey actually gave Kaylee some Xanax that knocked her out, and knocked her out too much. Like knocked her out to the point where she did not come back. She never woke back up. Probably just like knocked her out while she go hang out with her boyfriend, and then maybe when she came back to the car, she realized like, oh my god, she's actually knocked out, she's not breathing, and then maybe that's when she freaked out. Decided to move forward with, you know, dumping her body. But that also doesn't make sense to me, because again, there's duct tape over her mouth. Like, you had to stop her from breathing. Like, you literally, ugh, shit pisses me off, man. Yeah, that is the case, and let's finish it off. Truly, Caylee Anthony needs to be beat the fuck up. And I do not promote violence, but that I will promote. That my friend, I will promote. Shockingly, no one has done it yet. Like, I'm confused. What, as Americans, as a society, we have one thing. If we can't agree on anything, we can't agree on who we're gonna vote for president. We can't agree on climate change. We can't agree on anything. We can agree that Caylee Anthony is a dumb mother, you know, and someone deserved to sucker punch her. Like, walking in the store, you see her, knock her out. Take the assault charge for us. We'll bail you out. Like, I'm telling you, Caylee Anthony deserves to be, she needs to be touched. I can't believe she's been walking around untouched. Like, don't come to New York, Casey. Do not come to New York. Okay. Anyways, here's the final product. Okay, but like, I ate that. You see the colors? I ate that. Period. Hold on. You guys know what to do. Like I said, make sure you guys follow me on all my social medias. Like this video, comment down below other cases or other stories you guys want me to cover. What are your opinions about Caylee Anthony? Rest in peace to Kaylee, of course. My heart goes out to the people that actually care about her and her family. I hope she's resting peacefully. I hope she haunts Casey though. Like, do that, Kaylee. Haunt your mother, because she's terrible. All I really have to say, again, follow me on all my socials, and I'll see you guys in my next video. It's your girl Treasurelove, and I am signing out. Bye.